welcome back to On the Fly. Today we're going to be dealing with part 29 of our Sweeping Seattle series, the topic being the Washington Capitals. The Capitals finished the regular season with a 36-15-5 record, placing them second in the East Division. This set up a first-round match with the Boston Bruins, and the Bruins knocked one in 5 games, knocking them out of the playoffs. Overall, the Capitals are a team that have been on the cusp of a playoff, winning, of course, in 2018, although they haven't quite found success in the playoffs for some time now. Overall, their team is built for the playoffs, with leaders like Ovechkin and Backstrom obviously being there before. But overall, their team isn't quite there, so they will be looking to go into a rebuild relatively soon. Overall, the draft expansion strategy will be to protect their skilled guys, as they still do believe they are in the cup contention race, although personally, I do not believe that they are. But that's kind of your own discretion. They might make a cup run like the Habs did this year, where most teams did count them out, but overall their expansion draft strategy will protect as many skilled guys as possible. Now that we know about the team, let's take a look at the players, starting with the forwards. Nick Backstrom was a non-movement clause of getting Kuznetsov, TJ Oshie, Anthony Mantha, Tom Wilson, Lars Eller, Carl Hagelin, Garnet Hathaway, Nick Dowd, Connor Sheary, and Dylan Sprong are all the players who meet the 2 forward exposed requirement. Michael Scarbosa, Shane Gersich, Brian Pinho, Garrett Pilon, Axel Johnson, Fajalbi, all did not meet the game's played requirement, and Alex Ovechkin is a UFA. Onto the defense, John Carlson, Dmitry Orlov, Justin Schultz, Brandon Dillon, Nick Jensen, Michael Kempney, and Trevor Van Riemsdyk, who are all the defense meet the 1D exposed requirement. Lucas Johansson is an RFA. Moving on to the goalies, Phoenix Copley, Ilya Samsonov, Vitek Vanacek, and Zach Fucali are all the goalies that are eligible. Samsonov is an RFA, and all those goalies do meet the 1 goalie exposed requirement. Now they know what the players, let's start protecting them. Starting with the forwards. Nick Backstrom's the obvious selection here, no movement clause, and he's one of their best leaders, so overall he'll be protected, especially if they do decide to go into rebuild or go for trades. He will be among those that will be protected. Kuznetsov is my next one. I believe for sure he will be, unless he gets dealt before the deadline, which is starting to creep up faster and faster. Overall, I don't think they'll end up making a trade for him, at least not until after the draft. But if they do, look for him to be protected, because he is a big part of their team, and he'll fetch some picks or some prospects that will help them kind of start off and kickstart that rebuild that they're trying to get into. Next up, Anthony Mantha. Not much surprise here. They traded for him at the deadline. Obviously, a big trade. So I think they're not trading for a guy then leaving him. Obviously, he's a young guy, still has room to develop, but overall, that's a good pickup for them, so he'll be protected. Next up, everybody's favorite player outside the Washington Capitals is Mr. Tom Wilson, the goon himself. Obviously, he'll be protected, one of their most interesting players, to put it nicely. Not a big fan of him myself, but if you're a Capitals fan, I'm sure you'll love him. My final 2 forward players, they meet 2 forward exposed requirement. Overall, TJ Oshie, I know most people think he's going to Seattle. He's not. He'll be protected, guaranteed, pretty well. I mean, unless Washington decides to go on a different route and maybe trade him for it. But I don't believe they'll let Oshie walk free without getting something for him in return. So with that, Oshie will be protected. And finally, the last 2 players I'm going to protect for the forwards, Connor Sheary and Dylan Sprong. Both these guys do provide that energy for the Capitals. Overall, they are good defensive players, play a lot of minutes for them, and because of that, they will be protected. Moving on to the defense, John Carlson, not much surprise here either. Top defenseman last few years in terms of points, and because of this, he will be protected. My next pick is going to be Dmitry Orlov. I'd argue second best defenseman on the team. Really solid player overall, especially to a team that's trying to compete in the next year or so. Not much surprise if they keep Orlov. And then finally, for me, it comes down to Dillon and Schultz. I'm picking Dillon because he is younger and has more potential to grow. But overall, you could make an argument either way. I don't think it's going to matter, as they do have a high goalie prospect pool. So Seattle will take a look at their goalies before they take a look at their defensemen. Moving on to the goalies, as previously mentioned, I believe Samsonov will be the pick. I believe he's the better goalie with more potential over Vanacek. Copley and Fucali don't really matter in terms of this, because they're not going to be big goalies for them, nor will have room to grow into some of those star players that you look for. But they might become a backup for Samsonov in case he gets hurt. You sort of saw what happened in the playoffs when both Vanacek and Samsonov both got hurt. They started to panic. They went to Craig Anderson for a game. They went to some other guys for games. But overall, I think Samsonov is the easy selection for the protection spot. Now it's Seattle's turn. I believe the three most important players the Kraken will take a look at will be Lars Eller, Justin Schultz, and Vitek Vanacek. Overall, each of these players do have their ups and downs. Overall, Schultz, I believe, is probably one of the best defensemen that, in terms of skill-wise, that the Kraken will be taking a look at. Eller will be that kind of leadership guy. Overall, he is still a good player despite being 32. Still has room to grow, surprisingly, but he's one of those players that you can always rely on. And then for the goalies, Vitek Vanacek, I believe that overall he's one of the younger goalies in the draft, and because of this, he'll be one to really look for, especially on a younger Seattle team. With room to grow, he might become the next Carey Price, Andre Vasilevsky, so on and so forth, if given the role that he sees fit, like a starter kind of idea. But with him and Holtby, I believe that these two goalies will be a pretty unstoppable duo. So Vitek Vanacek will be my pick. Overall, I think there won't be a better goalie for potential-wise. And because of this, I think Vanacek's definitely going to be the pick. So with that, Vitek Vanacek will be Seattle's third goalie, which meets the 3-goalie minimum. If you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. If you liked it, drop a like. If you really liked it, consider subscribing, tell all your friends about it, and leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree with me. Until next time, see ya.